My name is Dave Derrenberger. I'm a lifelong Cleveland Indians fan in Mansfield, Ohio. I've been following the Tribe probably since about the mid-'70s. But I first started following them, I'd probably say I remember watching Frank Robinson hit the home run on opening day when he was the player-manager back in 1975. So that's about my earliest memory. The funny thing is, about that same time, the Big Red Machine was very popular, and so my dad always used to watch the Reds games all the time. And so if he had a choice between watching an Indians game or a Reds game, he was going to watch the Reds. So there's my claim to fame.
Well, it's a game because Todd Cordelletti was out here a few days ago. And
yeah, teacher Max.
Yeah, his dad would take us up for opening day when he had tickets in that time. And that was one of those games where we went, wow. Home, and there were 80,000 fans at Old Municipal Stadium. It was great. Then you try and go a week later, and they were like, "Hey, you want to play?" There's no call. So it's you've been a lifelong fan as long as I have, maybe a tick longer, and it's kind of you're there. You're stuck. Yeah. You're not going to go anywhere. You know,
no.
They'd move to Poughkeepsie. I'm an Indians fan, so it's a great thing. You know, so let's kind of jump at where we're at right now. And as we were saying off air, it's not pretty, but who knows? We've been to not pretty before, and it's turned into something. So let's look at our pitching staff. What do you think?
Well, of course, Shane Bieber, you're talking about the reigning Cy Young Award winner. So, I mean, he's obviously one of the top pitchers in the game. I think that Zach Plesac and Aaron Savali are going to do very well. I think that Tristan McKenzie is going to do well. I'm not sure about this Logan Allen that pitched, although he only did give up 2 runs yesterday. But still, they haven't had a left-handed starter in their lineup forever, it seems. Almost probably at least 5 or 6 years more.
Yeah, it sounds like 400 and something starts or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot. You're talking quite a while ago since they had a left. I think it wasn't there when they were in the World Series, they had a lefty, a young kid. What was his name? I can't remember his name now. You know what I'm talking about? He actually. I can't remember what his name was, but it was a lefty. He was a young guy. He just came up out of Akron, I think. I think he bypassed AAA altogether. And, he ended up – I think – didn't he win a game in the Toronto series in the playoffs?
I believe that's right, yeah. I'm blanking on the name, but I know who you're talking about, right.
That's what happens when you get old, right?
Well, I say it's because there's so much information in there that there's so fast you get – so I can't even talk now. So fast you can get it out. So, but you know, and the thing about that is, and there's no set rule that says you have to go lefty, righty, lefty, right.
Right.
But when you don't have that kind of diversity, and you can't force anyone to do anything. You're going righty, righty, righty. You know, you can't work a matchup to start your game.
Right.
And then you go to the bullpen, and you know it's not the bullpen that it used to be. You know, and again, we're talking about, we didn't know who Kluber was going to be. We didn't know who Bauer was going to be. We were waiting on Clevenger. You know, we were waiting on guys named White. You remember those guys, Alex White, and those kind of guys that we thought were going to be great pitchers, and they weren't. But then guys that we weren't sure of became great pitchers. So it's a possibility. There's one. We waited on him for 5 years, right? But so this is the beauty of it, as we were talking about being an Indians fan, and being an Indians fan forever, and it seems like forever, that we get the idea that it can change without us realizing it's going to change.
Right.
Because suddenly it's 3 years later, wait, like where did Jose Ramirez come from? There was no indication that he was going to be an MVP candidate until he became an MVP candidate. It's like, boom, there he is.
His first year, he stunk.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't think he hit 200, did he?
I don't think he did. No, if it was like 212. You know.
Yeah.
So it's the fun of it, because the one thing I've been talking to various people about their teams in the last few days is that this is a team that an organization will stick with you until they have to pay you, I guess is the best way of putting it. But they'll stick with a guy because they believe in the process, and I think that also they believe in the manager who's going to get them there. So
I mean, I think he's one of the best managers in the game. Tito's awesome. I mean, you look at the last 8 years, they've had a winning season each of the last 8 years. They've never had that long of a stretch of sustained success. Even during the 90s with Mike Hargrove, they did not have 8 straight winning seasons.
And I would bet if you, and I bet if you were to talk to the managers and the GMs around the league, even when Cleveland's going to have it down there, which it looks like this one might be, they're never going to walk in and say, well, this is a guaranteed sweep. We're going to walk into Cleveland, or they're coming to our place, and we're going to win 3 out of 4, 2 out of 3, easy. It doesn't happen that way. This is a team that other teams are respectful of. And
the pitching.
Yeah. But and that, okay, well, I said I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to do it. Let's walk through the history of things, just out for the fun of it. All right. Can you name, and I don't know this, so I'm just thinking off the top of my head, how many Cy Young Award pitchers has Cleveland had that were not with, or were Cy Young Award pitchers that they had on the roster that were not with them for more than a couple of years? Just think off the top of your head.
Probably Gaylord Perry.
One.
Did Louis Tiant ever win the Cy Young?
I don't think he did, but I was thinking that too. I don't think he did win the Cy Young, but he was close.
Okay. That's about it.
Okay. I go Blyleven.
Oh, okay. He won a Cy Young? Who did he win a Cy Young with?
I don't know if he won a Cy Young, but he was close.
Okay.
I think Sutcliffe, one of those two won one. If I'm
Rick Sutcliffe won over the Cubs, right?
Yeah, right, with the Cubs.
And that's when they traded him.
Right. I was going to say Eckersley, but he didn't win a Cy Young. He won it later, but he didn't win it with them.
With Oakland.
Right. But that was a decade. Yeah, that was decades later. Yeah, as a reliever, right. Cliff Lee.
Well, yeah, he was with us. I thought you meant one was
either way.
Yeah. And then CC Sabathia. Yeah.
Bauer.
Yeah.
Kluber. Yeah, it's not. I'm not saying this to pile dirt on what's going on, but they have a knack for having pitching.
Yeah. I was going back old school. I'm sorry. I didn't know you did recent history.
Okay. Well, to me, every day blurs together now after being inside for last year. So, but the idea that they've always seemed to get pitching, even when it doesn't look like they should get pitching.
Yeah.
And so that's always a positive. And I think Tito's always had pitching as well. So that if you have pitching in this game, you can function. I'd like to see something more out of the defense. We know what we have, but we don't know. Obviously, lose Lindor. That's going to be tough. But you've got a Gold Glove catcher, and maybe these guys are going to pick up
second baseman. Gold Glove second baseman.
Right. So that's always something, and the offense will come hopefully. So we, and look at the year you were talking about the 90s, and I'm jumping all over the place. I'm sorry, but you're talking about the 90s. Where did these, Tomei, Bell, Ramirez? I mean, these guys just kind of suddenly coalesced into, oh my goodness. Remember Tomei as a little skinny third baseman?
Yeah.
Like, whoa, what happened? You turned
into a behemoth first baseman.
You're going, wow. So Paul Sorrento just got the job done. I don't, as you said, we can be critical, but I think there's some positivity in it. So let's look at the starting lineup or the offensive lineup and see where we can find some nuggets.
Well, of course, Cesar Hernandez hitting in the 2-hole. I think he's the perfect number 2-hole hitter. He led the league in doubles last year in the short season. He can get on base. He can steal you some bases. I think number 2, you're fine. Number 3, of course, with Jose Ramirez, he's fine. He's going to be your, MVP candidate. I like Eddie Rosario hitting 4th. Nice to see Fran Mill hit a home run the other day.
Oh, yeah.
5-hole, yeah. And then I tell you what, if the wind wasn't blowing yesterday, he would have had another one yesterday. I mean, he crushed that ball, but dead center, and the wind knocked it down, and that was it. But nice to see Roberto. It looks like he's going to He hit the home run on opening day. Other than that, I mean, they've got 3 big holes in the lineup. First base and the 2 other outfield spots.
Right.
The platoon of Chang and Bowers so far has not worked. Chang had the 1-2-run signal, but other than that, he's been unproductive. Bowers is still looking for his first hit after 4 games. Of course, he only played in 2 of them. But, the outfield, I don't know what they're doing there with Gamble and Luplo and then having them bat leadoff. That's got to be the most putrid leadoff platoon in the game right now.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah, it is scary. I mean, I don't understand this whole service time thing of wanting to put players down in the minors until you absolutely positively have to call them up,
Right.
and the options and keeping them in the minors for as long as you can so you don't have to pay them the big league salary, and then they delayed their free agency. And I just want to win.
Right.
I don't care about contracts. I don't care about payroll. I don't care about, keeping somebody down in the minors as long as you can and delaying their free agency. If somebody's going to help you win now versus a guy that's over there at first base that doesn't have a single hit yet,
Right.
how stupid can you be?
And that is the way it goes right now with a lot of teams. And I tell you what else that really sucks about that is that some of these guys that you're keeping the minors, they didn't have a minor league season last year.
Right.
So there's seasoning that needs to be done, but should it be at the minors or should it be at the big league level? If you're going to play, I'm playing.
Right.
And that's really, and I know that there's really no explanation or there's really no excuse for it. I understand why we didn't have a minor league season last year. But I think that when you look at that, you say, do we just stick them down there and lose another year? Do we lose service time that way? Or just get them on the field and let them play?
Get them on the field and let them play, I say.
I don't see that there's any reason why you wouldn't. I mean,
Yeah.
looking at the guys that are playing.
Bradley has nothing more to prove.
Right.
You either put him at first base. Look what they did with Jesus Aguilar. They tried to do the same thing with him, and it ended up losing him anyway. Went to the Brewers, and he had 30 dingers.
Right.
We could have used those 30 dingers at first base.
Sure.
And it's the same thing. They're doing the same thing now with Bobby Bradley that they did with Aguilar. And, I wonder about Oscar Mercado out in center. I wonder if he's lost his confidence. And, like Yogi Berra once famously said, 90% of the game is half mental. I wonder if he's developed, a mental block, as far as for playing in the big leagues now, and his confidence is just shot. And so if that's the case, then bring up that Daniel Johnson then and let him play out there in center. I'd take Daniel Johnson struggling over, Jordan Puplo and Ben Gamble. I mean, come on.
Now, we said something that may seem to be contradictory.
What's that?
If Mercado were to be able to play in the minors or hadn't come up right away, would we have been seasoned and more prepared to play in the big leagues? Or is it you put him out there, see what he can do, and if he doesn't do the job, he can't do the job?
And they're fine. Well, there were no minor leagues last year. They couldn't send him down to get more seasoning.
Right.
So it's just completely ruined his confidence, and I just don't see him coming back at all. I think at this point, they need to pretty much cut bait with him, trade him or release him or do something, because I don't think he's ever going to amount to what he was in his rookie year ever again. I'm sorry. But that happens. There's all kinds of stories of guys that, look at Super Joe Charbonneau. He had the one good.
You're gonna go there, right?
One good rookie year, and then he was never the same ever again. I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
And then for whatever reason. But I just think that now this Daniel Johnson, he did very well in spring training, and they still sent him down. Same with Bobby Bradley. Bobby Bradley led spring training in home runs and RBIs. And what's he get? Back to the minors. I mean, it makes no sense to me whatsoever. So, I just feel that the service time thing, I think the date that they can call people up and keep them for an entire year is May 15th. I think that's the drop dead date is May 15th. So on May 15th, if they're still continuing to do what they're doing now, you got to bring up Bobby Bradley. You got to bring up Daniel Johnson and live with them for the rest of the season.
But by May 15th, you could be 12 games back.
Bingo. I know.
He's that good, and he's going to gain 12 games throughout the regular season. You might as well have him up there now.
I know. Yeah, I agree.
It's a weird thing. Okay, going back in history again. Other than the obvious ones, the World Series teams, which players or teams were, since we've been around this team for a while, were either the most surprising or the ones you went, I really liked it. They may not have won a lot, but I really liked that team or that group of people.
I always go back to that 1986 team. They had a 10-game winning streak. They had, Joe Carter, Corey Snyder, Mel Hall, Brett Butler, Brooke Jacoby, Tom Candiotti. They had a really good team, really decent team. And the problem was the Sports Illustrated jinx the next year picked them to win the World Series.
Yeah.
You end up losing 105 games. And Corey Snyder, that was his rookie year in 1986. He did very well. He had like 33 home runs thereabouts. Well, then he had his sophomore slump.
Yeah.
And because he was slumping then, and then they also had the contract holdout.
Right.
Preparation, and they got off to a real slow start, and the next thing you know, they're losing. I mean, losing breeds losing.
Yeah.
And just like there's positive momentum for winning, you get on that 22-game winning streak like they had in 2017.
Right.
Losing is very much, there can be negative momentum too, and you get off on the wrong foot and start to lose, it can just snowball from there.
And it just goes away. And
yeah,
you're looking at Corey
that's what happened. That's what happened in 1987.
Yeah. Okay. You're looking at Corey Snyder, for example. You go, if the bases aren't loaded, this guy can't get a hit. I mean, it's like everyone get on base so Corey can hit the ball. I remember that. It's like I didn't even think that was in Sports Illustrated. It's like the guy can't hit unless the bases are loaded. But I go a decade before that when we were just butt awful. But we had the Dwayne Kuiper, Andre Thornton, Tom Verizon teams.
Yeah.
And they were just
Rick Manning.
They were my team.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it to people that don't follow a team that isn't always number
Mike Hargrove.
Mike Grover, right? The human run delay.
Yeah.
They just did something. I don't know what it was. There was just something about them. They came to play every day.
Yeah.
They didn't always play well, but they came to play every day. And it was worthwhile. And you listen to it on the radio, like, oh, man, these guys are into it. And I tell anybody that calls themselves a Tribe fan, I tell them, if you can't spell Dybzinski, you don't deserve to be an Indians fan.
Dybzinski, Dybzinski.
Yep. If you can't spell Dybzinski, you are not an Indians fan. You either came up too late or you
funny.
That's funny. The Major League movie came out.
You know what's funny? Not a lot of people realize this, but that 1981 team, remember there was a strike that year in the middle of the season. And they actually won. They actually had the best overall record over the entire year between the two halves, but you had to either win the first half or the second half to make the playoffs, and they didn't win either half.
And
they came
the next year,
both halves.
And then the next year, all the pitching went away again, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh well, but that's the fun of it. And as I talk to people about their teams and about this is why I stopped looking at the spring training part, because spring training is full of optimism, usually for a bad reason, because you're projecting. and you're not really looking at who you have and why you have them or where the season's going to go. And looking back, I've been a Tampa Bay Rays fan since 2018. Don't talk to me. You haven't had to suffer through the really lousy years. The up and downs, the good, the bad, the good years when they were really good, and the bad years when they were really bad.
Yeah,
I'll take the Indians, whatever we call them now. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. I'll take the Cleveland baseball team, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
So that to me is a perfect thing. So
I think it's going to be Spiders.
Yeah, that would work.
I think they're going to want to get back to their roots. And, Cy Young was a member of the Cleveland Spiders.
Right.
He won 200 and some games as a member of the Cleveland Spiders, and they're going to build off of that. I really believe it.
Well, I was looking, and I had it on the old website, but I took that page down. I'm actually rebuilding it right now. I had a history of the names. The Great Lakes something or other, and I looked and went, yeah, Spiders works.
Yeah.
It really,
no other teams have that mascot. I take that back. There's one basketball team in college. Richmond, right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. And it's like, Spider-Man. Cool. Spider-Man's cool. I always wanted to be
Spider-Man. They had a Marvel Day there last year.
Yeah.
Slider even dressed up as Spider-Man.
Yeah. So, okay, one last thing. We're on our replacement drummer now.
The guy from the Black Keys.
Yeah. Now, what?
Carney.
Explain this to other people who are not Cleveland baseball fans. That this is so important that the drummer is an important integral part of the team. Explain
absolutely.
Why that actually is.
He builds off the momentum of the rallies. He gets things going. How many times have you heard other opponents come in there and say they hear that drum and it's almost scary?
It is.
Because it comes at just the right time when you're looking to build momentum to winning the game, to possibly driving in the go-ahead run or the tying run or something. That guy's out there drumming. He's out there doing it, and it's for whatever reason, it just adds to the ambiance of the whole facility, and you can build off of that. He's been doing it since the 70s, even when it was back at the old lakefront, the old municipal stadium.
I remember when they built the new stadium, and someone was questioning, does John Allen come over? And they're like, he better. Someone better find a spot for him. John Adams. I'm sorry. Somebody better find a spot for him, because that's it. He is as iconic as Herb Score. Right. He's as iconic as Tom Hamilton. Yeah. It's part of the game. It's
so funny. Remember when Mark McGuire hit the home run that hit the Budweiser sign? It was right over top of his head.
Yeah.
The ball went over his head. It hit off on the scoreboard over top of him.
You're thinking, what kind of human being did that?
Yeah, no one else has ever even come close.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, we were talking about there's a slew of Hozo Canseco car washes out here.
Yeah.
So every time you drive down the street and you see one, you just go, there's that image. There are two images that come to mind. One shot he hit in the World Series, and that one when it was the Rangers. Yeah. So the shot that he hit off the camera in the World Series.
Yeah.
You're going, who did that? What kind of human being did that? And then the one where he's like, I think I bonked.
Carmelo Martinez is the one that hit that.
Yep. Now, the question I ask people to find out where they are baseball-wise, and I'm wearing one of the jerseys now. Canseco made me think of it. Just name greats in your mind that you've seen play. Right fielders. Because usually you can say great catchers, great pitchers, whatever. If you can, and I'm not testing, I'm just saying that's what I do to other people just to get them out where they are. Name the best that you saw, not necessarily their entire career, but like Canseco, the Burn, Brighton, and look. This is my Dave Parker jersey.
Yeah, Dave Parker. I was gonna say the Cobra, man. He was phenomenal. But when he went to the Reds, then I became a fan of him when he came to the Reds, and you know, there were some guys. I mean, Ichiro in right field was phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think some of the other guys that had like rocket arms. Geez.
Go Dave Winfield.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's
More so when he was with the Padres.
Right.
When he got to the Yankees, he was on the downside of his career at that point. He was with the Indians for a season.
Well,
for 1 year.
Right. Yeah. 1 year. Right. Oh, well, that's another story. You can have all those during that time, the David Justices and